What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video here on the Samurai Sports Network, and today we're going to be talking about another episode of Walk, Resign, or Trade. And this episode is going to be very interesting for me because although I've done multiple videos on it, we get to talk about in the Walk, Resign, or Trade, Jarvis Landry. Now, a lot of you might think, Kai, you're doing this because you know that Jarvis Landry, his name, will get you a lot of views. You are absolutely 100% correct. But there's also a very big issue with the Miami Dolphins and how they feel about Jarvis Landry. Now, when you go to the fan base and the team itself, it seems as if things are split or things are not the way that they should be. So, in this video, to kind of counteract that, what we're going to do is we're going to take the fans' point of view of re-sign, walk, or trade, and then we're going to do the Dolphins' business point of view for walk, re-sign, or trade. For me, this is kind of a playing both sides, devil's advocate kind of thing. And then at the end, I will give you my full opinion. So, let's start with the fans. What do the fans think? The fans think you got to re-sign him. I don't care how much money it is. He is the heart and soul of our offense. He is the main thing that'll bring us to the Super Bowl. He is the X factor. And I agree a little bit. I definitely do. I think that he's definitely an X factor. I think he definitely plays into our offense. And the fans are right. He is a huge part of our offense. He is the heart and soul of our offense. Last year it was more so the J Train and Jay Ajayi, and this year they had to rely on Jarvis a lot more with the inconsistent running game between the first 9 weeks, and then. Damian Williams as a runner wasn't better than Kenyon Drake. We obviously knew that. But Kenyon Drake had never taken, the amount of carries that he had to take before. Never at Alabama and never in the NFL. So, I'm sure that Adam Gase and the coaching staff were very cautious to let him do that. So, there was that. But, in terms of all of those things, everything now kind of makes more sense. Everything kind of works in a certain way because the offense was able to flow. When you go back into Jarvis Landry, where does Jarvis Landry fit into all of this? You kind of get to the sense and you kind of get into the area of, okay, well, he fits in as a slot receiver for the Dolphins. They don't have a number one, but he was able to do what a lot of people said he couldn't do. They said, all right, well, you got 100 catches, but your receiving yards suck. All right, you got 100 catches, but you can't catch touchdowns. Your yards per catch are awful, which it's true. His yards per catch are probably, if I had to take a guess, it would probably be around 7.8, something like that. Probably one of the lowest in the NFL. Maybe even less, maybe around 5. So yeah, there is that argument, but you do argue that he did play a big part in the Dolphins offense this season and will continue to play a big part of the Dolphins offense if he is re-signed. Now let's go into the Dolphins business point of view of everything. So the way that the Dolphins look at this, in my mind, is I'm sure that they love Jarvis Landry, but they don't want to pay him $14 million a year. They think that that's number one wide receiver money, and Jarvis Landry being a slot wide receiver, for those of you who want to complain and say that it's easy for him to transition to be a number one, no, he's not a number one wide receiver. He won't transition to be a number one wide receiver. He is a slot receiver. Hell, in the Pro Bowl, he was lined up on the outside a couple times, and it's the same thing in Dolphins games. Sometimes they line him up on the outside a couple times, but 90% of his snaps, also in the Pro Bowl, in the slot. He's a slot receiver. Just because him and Odell came out of the same class and something he's better than blah, 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 blah. Odell is a number one wide receiver. Jarvis is a slot receiver. Was in high school, was in, college, was when he was youth, everything. I'm basically saying his entire life, he's been a slot receiver in terms of the receiving game. So if he's been a receiver, he's been in the slot. And it's not going to change. And the Dolphins know that. I know that. Most of the logical fans know that. And so they know that's not going to change. And so because of that, their kind of really main focus is, can we get you down to 11 million, or anywhere around that? Because that would be more of a middle ground for us. And, I found myself talking to the founder of the Landry Gang hashtag the other day. And in my mind, I was still like, you're still wrong. I get that you're obsessed with Jarvis Landry, but you're still wrong in certain ways. Like, you can't just pay him whatever you want. Cap situations do exist, and the Dolphins have one of the worst cap situations in the NFL. So you can't just go out there and say, pay the man whatever he wants, so he just signs the dotted line and gets him back on the team. No, that's not how it works. And not that he was saying that, but he was saying, oh, well, you don't want him back, but then you don't want to pay him around 14. You want to get him down to 11. It's like, yeah, I don't want him back at $14 million a year. At like 11, sure. At 14, no. And it's okay to have that opinion. You can't just be right or wrong. But there you go. That's my opinion right there. I was about to transition to it, but there you go. My opinion is, I want Jarvis back, yes. Do I want him at 14? Never. If he can take $11 million a year, $3 million less, maybe get a couple bonuses here and there, add some incentives. If he has more than 8 touchdowns, he gets $1 million, something like that, to incentivize him to take 11 million instead of 14, which, you know, 3 million makes a huge difference, right? Then yeah, come back. But if you're gonna stay at like $14 million, no, leave, go away. That's not the contract that I want you on. It sucks, but that's what you kind of got to deal with. But I'll see you guys next time. Let me know what you guys think about this, and as always, peace.